The picture he took of this trailhead was the last thing I received from him. I will get him back. I will find him. He's not gone. I don't care what anyone says. I can still hear his voice every night when I'm on the edge of sleep. We've always had that connection. I feel that bond now. Stronger every minute. Especially now that I'm here. I feel it pulling. I feel myself being drawn towards him. I will find him. I will find him. Intuition says to follow this trail. But I know he didn't go this way. There's been a thorough investigation down this place. What am I going to find that the police haven't already? They refuse to listen to me, but I can't blame them. The terrain was too steep. And when they started past the first ravine, they told me there was no evidence of anyone passing through. No footprints and no displaced rocks or terrain. They said he couldn't possibly have gone this way. They're wrong. I know I'm right. They're wrong. They're wrong. Being here for myself, I know I'm right. I feel it more than I ever have. I just have to take it slow. I have everything I need, and I'm ready. I will find him. I will find him. This is exactly the path that Sam would have followed. This is the kind of shit he'd absolutely do. See a path to the right and a cliff on the left, and he'd be grabbing the rappelling gear every single time. I'm at the bottom now, and all I see are trees in front of me. Nothing but trees. An endless sea of oak. I can't go back now, but this cold is almost overwhelming. It's baffling to me. I'm not weak. Checking my watch, it's still 55 degrees, not out of the ordinary for a typical fall evening. My skin isn't cold, but I've never felt so chilled. It's as if a silent wind has cut through me into my very core. I feel something tugging in the back of my mind. What is that? Trepidation? No, I can't let that happen. I'm not letting doubt take over now. I will find him. I know he's this way. First step forward and I'm immediately struck with the realization of what I'm looking at. This forest is what his room has become. A beautiful mural that stretched all the way across his walls and over his door. He had transformed his bedroom into this endless forest. I observed it as I sat on my brother's bed, praying for guidance, soaking in the last act of such a talented painter. No, not last. Get that out of your head. The most recent act. No room for doubt. The more I observed and the longer I observed, the more haunting the imagery becomes. What was on initial viewing a beautiful mural of a forest became an apparent facade for something much darker. It was the shadows that pulled me in and filled me with a dread that hadn't been there before. He was too detail-oriented, and many of these shadows don't match the trees. They bend and contort themselves in unnatural fashions. And as I try to trace the lines of these shadows back to their source, I find the decay and rot that was not apparent to me before. Now as I look around, it's all-encompassing, consuming the very forest around me. I find myself in a clearing surrounded by a ring of oak trees carved with words, almost like runic symbols. And this is the only sanctuary from this rot. Words repeating the phrases. He steals their voices and don't look at the shadows. They're repeated in almost rhythmic and mystical fashion. As I spin around searching for answers, this rot seems to be growing, more vivid by the second. The imagery of my brother's work is so detailed and astounding that I swear I can smell the acrid air and the molding wood. I can hear and feel the wind whispering and the foliage rustling and falling around me. Reacting to a breeze that isn't there. I can feel it cold against my skin, like an icy hand pushing me forward. I stop, and the first thing I see is the tree. There's something different about this one. With the previous dogma of this beautiful imagery being stripped away by the reality of what lies beneath it, and this tree stands out as full of life. The shadows playing on it, bringing it an almost unnatural and inhuman and horrific liveliness. And now that I've noticed it, it almost seems separate from the rest of the forest, like it was placed here from a different painting. I see the shadows of the mural almost dancing with life on the corner of my vision, and as I lean closer still, this carving is writing. Writing arranged in this ornate circle, a circle that's deeply cut through the bark of the tree and into its flesh. Sap bleeds like an unclotting wound. I lean ever closer to try and discern the words. They're barely distinguishable, but clearly the work of my brother. I need to see what this says. This is important. This is a clue. This is how I find him. Nobody else would know. And with my nose mere inches from the mural, I squint and desperately try to discern the wording. I take one step. I turn around, looking to go back, knowing I've made a horrible mistake. But all I see before me is the carved oak. I turn around and it's still there, the same distance from me. No. What's happening? What's going on? Am I in the painting? Am I dreaming? Why is this happening? This isn't possible. This isn't real. This isn't real. No. This is real. I am here. My name is Daniel. My brother's name is Samuel. I'm 26 years old. Samuel has been missing for 2.5 weeks. The police have just called off their searches and have been recommending a private investigator. Can you tell a green field from a cold steel rail? A smile from a veil. Can you tell a green field from a cold steel rail? A smile from a veil. I know that voice. I know that song. It was the last song we saw our father perform. Singing it always brought us together. Why am I thinking of it now? No, you know why you're thinking of this. Stop. Push it out of your head. He's not gone. For heroes, for ghosts, hot ashen trees, hot air for a cool breeze. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Wait. This isn't in my head. That's Samuel. I can hear him. He's here. I turn and begin running towards his voice, towards the oak. Any of the fear and hesitation that was in my mind is now gone. And euphoria fills my senses, and the only thought in my head, I'm going to bring him home. I'm going to bring him home. My sprint slows as I grow closer before I come to a dead stop. I slowly turn my head to assess my surroundings. Is it darker now? No. No, it's not. I look over my shoulder towards the clearing. It's significantly further, but reachable in just a few seconds of walking. A deep-rooted knot, ever growing in my stomach, makes it seem oh so much further away. And around me, the quiet howl of the wind slowly shifts the tree branches and coldly caresses my skin. How I wish you were here. How I wish you were here. I turn back towards the oak, strangely illuminated in this closing darkness around me. It It stands a mere 20 feet away from me. The shadow still swaying around the trunk and its carved words only barely out of my ability to discern them. I take a step backward. I'm immediately filled with the same deep and visceral dread I had before. The oak didn't get any further away. No, this isn't real. My eyes are playing tricks on me. No, this isn't real. I take 3 steps back and my stomach painfully clenches as I watch the oak in growing anticipation. It's still the same distance from me as before. No, this isn't real. This can't be real. I close my eyes and my senses are almost immediately overwhelmed with the sounds of voices that diminish and back away upon my opening of them. And with that, I realized these voices had always been here. Sam's was always the most prominent, but these were just at the edge of his, barely recognizable whispers that I foolishly mistook as the wind. I tilt my head ever so slightly skyward, ensuring that I maintain my view of the oak tree from the bottom of my vision. The trees seem alive with their movements as I watch their swaying branches throw shadows against the earth and one another. A nearly synchronized performance in which I am its only audience. I bring my head down again. I don't have a choice. I need to go to Oak. I need to know what the words say. I need to know. I take 1 step. And the oak that was previously still 20 feet away from me is now towering directly over me. Its smooth, light bark shining to me like a beacon in this overwhelming darkness, eerily overtaking the forest with its unnatural, horrifying presence. Its hauntingly beautiful appearance tainted only by the dark sap that still creeps downward from the deeply inscribed words that I can finally recognize. Not words. Symbols. I narrow my eyes and examine the would-be letters before me that are almost hieroglyphic. This is something else. I tilt my head to try and see the letters, staring intently as though doing so long enough would allow me to recognize this unknown language. I trace my finger around the cuts. The bark is smooth, almost polished, in direct contrast to the foreign cuts in its skin. My head bolts up and I look around. The voice came from directly behind me this time. And around me the trees continue to sway and to creak, but I can't see anyone. I slowly move in a circle, trying to take in every part of my surroundings. Every bush, every tree, every shadow, all the shadows. All these shadows that don't match to the trees casting them, surrounding me, enclosing me in darkness. As my eyes dart along all of them, desperately trying to link them to their sources, a single word leaves my mouth. I can't even be sure if I'm the one who chose to speak or if they just escaped my lips in my growing uncertainty. Sam? Wish you were here. Wish you were here. I spin around again, back towards the oak. It was Sam's voice, singing directly behind me. For the briefest of moments, my fear was gone once again, until my thoughts were immediately cut off by what was standing in front of me. A darkened vision of a man staring down at me, its face unseen and hidden by the shadows dancing around it. Dressed neatly in a black business suit and tie, drastically contrast against the natural world surrounding him. He stood almost completely obscured by the shadows towering over me, bringing me to realize how he could have been there the entire time, mistaken for one of the trees swaying in the darkness. And although I can't see a face, I know a judgment was being passed on me. I am immediately overwhelmed by the voices, an unending, eternal, dark symphony that attacks me from all sides, with the orchestrator bearing down upon me. A million batons raising their voices to the highest degree in my mind, tightening over me like a snake. I don't know if I've remained standing or if I've been put to the ground, but I can't see. My vision is being shaken so violently as I feel my body crumble. Every single negative emotion that's possible to experience strikes me in a torturous unison. Hatred, anger, fear, doubt, sadness, disgust, all erupting in my mind in their strongest forms, assaulting every fiber of my being. There's something else, something's approaching. Its presence gaining strength by each horrendous second. It's not death, no, not death, it's the end. An all-encompassing end of everything. The voices are growing louder. Languages I don't understand or even recognize, assaulting me from every angle, deafening me, louder still, growing with the same intensity as that ever-present impending end. That end has always been here. It was here from the second I stepped out of the clearing, scraping at my consciousness, singing into my ears with the voice of my brother, drawing me in, and I sprang the trap. Then as suddenly as it started, it all stopped. I find myself on the ground, staring skywards. My senses numb and my memories irrelevant. I stare at the inky black starless sky stretching out before me. Only the very tops of the trees are visible to me. The thin, jagged branches of black reaching upward, only distinguishable through the sea of dark blue above them. We're just two souls swimming in a fishbowl. There it is. I see you now. You almost got it right. But you just barely missed something. His lisp is gone. That lisp he's had his entire life. How did I miss that? Slowly my eyes move downward to see the source that pulled me in. There he stands in the clearing, watching me. His face more clear to me now as I look over the blank canvas that covers his head. A painting that is yet to be finished. I notice now that he's different though. Instead of a pristine black suit, I see him dressed in white satin. 2 large circular gold plates adorn his shoulders, and one hangs from his collar. And to his chest he tightly grips a golden sickle. He remains completely still, watching me from his statuesque pose, clearly waiting for my next decision. And it's in that moment that I notice something new. The shadows around him, flickering and wavering around him, appearing in the trees and the foliage. There are more, all watching me. And as I quietly observe all of this, I'm allowing the imagery to soak into my mind. My fading vision finally realizes the final detail. Besides the man with the sickle, stands a boy. His face dark, but still clearly observing me. He slowly looks up at the man, who doesn't react to his presence. And before looking back towards me, he quietly lifts his hand and waves to me. and the beginnings of a smile begin to tug at the corners of my mouth. As the darkness encloses onto me, and I can feel the sting of the voices creeping into my mind once more, one stands out above the rest, one that assures me and comforts me in whatever will follow.